So after accomplishing my painting today, I went back outside and actually looked at my hydrangea plants. So now I know what they really look like. I was pretty close, but if you want to try painting something without looking at it, I think it's one of the best things you can do to really challenge yourself, challenge your brain, challenge your mind, and just challenge. And you know, flowers for me are a challenge anyway. So this was right up my alley. So I'm just going to share with you today this quick little demo. It's about 20 minutes, and it's a very much a freeing, very fun, loose type of floral, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. I did cut some and put them in a glass jar, and they are just beautiful. They make my day, so I hope they make yours. So I'm just getting over, it seems like whenever I'm recording lately, I'm getting over a cold or something, and I don't think I'm usually sick, but boy, when I go through some of my other classes, I have had colds before. I guess that's over like 13 years, so it's not so bad. I just remember them because my voice is gone. So this is Arches. I'm going to be practicing on today. Arches 140-pound cold press paper. This is on just the removable pad. What do I have left? I only have a couple pages left. So I'm loose on this side. Remember, these are not taped down all the way around. So I thought today I would do a very loose rendition of my hydrangea bush that's out front. It's absolutely gorgeous this year, and I don't normally do flowers, but you know, I can stop saying that, I guess, because I've done quite a few of flowers lately. So I think that I'm going to have to say that I'm actually a flower person now. So we have mostly blue with a hydrangea, the one that I have, and they do have, I think it's just 4 petals. So, and they're big, but they're not real big. I'm using a huge number 18 Da Vinci mop for this one. Again, I'm going to try to really keep this nice and loose. And I have cobalt blue here. I might add, I think the ultramarine blue is maybe a little bit too stark. I do have some white ones as well. And you can see I have not wet my paper ahead of time, so I'm just going to go in with a dry brush here. This one does hold quite a bit of water. And some of these have more petals, I guess, because I guess they're kind of hiding in behind some of the other ones. And you can see this mop is really big, so I'm just trying to go somewhat loose here for these hydrangeas. So they're kind of tucked in behind, so it doesn't really matter what the petal count is unless you can see all of it, I guess, right? And then they do have a little bit of yellow in the center of them. So I'm just going to keep the white mostly in amongst behind there. Maybe we'll add a little bit. Some of them turn like a kind of a purplish, so let's just add a little bit of some ultramarine. I think that's not ultramarine. Cad red there. We'll just kind of tuck some in amongst some of these, because some of them are actually, okay, my neighbor's is white and mine are blue. And I think it has to do with the acidity in the soil. We have a lot of pine trees around us here. So I think that is what gives them that nice blue shade. So let's just do another one here. That's a little large. And just mounding it so it's just, you know, the illusion of those loose little petals. We'll put another one here maybe. I stopped doing the 4. I'm just kind of tapping in some color now. These are kind of tucked in behind here anyway. So just a little bit of color, and then I think I'm going to do a little bit of greenery. So we want some green in there. Do I have green? I do have some green. A little bit of sap green. And their petals are, I'm trying to do this from just my memory of a picture that I took. I think they actually have these little spiky things on the edge. I'm going to have to go back to look, see if I'm right, but for this demo, this is what I'm going to do. And again, we're keeping it really, really loose. Sometimes it's easier when you don't have anything to look at because you don't have anything to worry about, right? You're just like, I don't know if it has that on there. It definitely keeps us more loose and not quite so worried about what we're doing. Remember, they don't have to be exact. It's just a little fun practice. So you can see I don't have much for other colors in there, so I do want to add a little bit of yellow. Let's brighten this up a little bit, just in some of the areas. And the one I have out front is not super light, actually. It's a very dark green, actually. It doesn't quite look like the shape of it. There you go. Again, get those little, I think that's what that has on there. Makes me want to go look right now. I'm going to control myself. For those of you folks that are more type A and want to make sure you have things right, don't do as I do, right? Just go ahead and stop and take a picture or take a look. I'm kind of doing this on a whim. So that's pretty. It's not much going on in there. Seems a little flat. So let's go ahead and add just a little bit of red into that. Again, just some darker values. Let it just move around, kind of do its thing. I don't know what's tucked in behind here. Probably more darker blues that would be tucked in, darker purples tucked in there, maybe, where the light's not getting to it. Let's just fill in some of that white space, just a little here and there. Don't be afraid of it. Just go for it. I know I'm gonna go with even like a little bit of blue and green. Yeah, that's a nice color. It's kind of what I was looking for earlier, I think, and I ended up going with a darker shade. That's all right. Again, nice and loose. I can throw some of that green in here if I want to. I did green and blue for that. I'm not even getting my shape right there. Like a prickly little thing, isn't it? So you guys know I'm not much of a flower person anyway. And with watercolors, sometimes it can be super challenging. You have some of these people that do these flowers and they're absolutely gorgeous. And every little brush stroke is just very controlled and specific shapes, but it's not how I do things. I'm just, I wonder what this would look like here. I wonder what this will, I don't even switch my brush out. It's just all the same brush. Again, all part of trying to try things loose and playing. So I could probably get, by doing this, get an idea of what I'd want to do for the next one, right? Little practice sessions. I need a little bit more darker values in this one, maybe a little bit more blue. Get some cool colors and some warm colors going in here. A little bit of both. I feel like I'm losing some of my hydrangea, maybe. Spreading out. Go back in with some darker blues again. Maybe a little bit of purple. That's pretty. So some of the purple colors in here. Again, just, kind of imitating if it were, the 4 petals. You're not really going to see much of it. And I might end up putting a little bit of centers in here too, after we let this dry a little bit. And again, I don't want to get too much of the same color in there. Can even put a little bit out here, maybe. Cover up some of those, that greenery a little bit. Yeah. Okay, very moundy looking. Let's go ahead and dry it and then see, maybe we could do a little bit of pen work in there. Okay, Okay, so we're back. I've got a little bit of buckling on here. Again, it's not all taped down. That's okay. So you can see, look at all the gorgeous colors. Now, I let most of the watercolors do their thing. Rather than going back in and doing a lot of brush strokes on this, I let the water kind of take the paints where they wanted to go. So you can see I've got more purple in some of these areas, very soft edges. Here, this was a little bit, I got a little bit of a cauliflower on this one. But that really was the only spot. And some of these are very nice and loose. So we're going to add just, again, a little bit darker value in some of this area here. And then maybe do a little bit of, maybe a little bit of pen and ink for the rest of it. We'll just kind of decide as we get going here. So for this one, this is not super watery. I'm going in with a little bit stronger pigment and less water. And I'm trying a couple different blues here. I even have a little turquoise. Let's see what we've. This is the turquoise from my Rosa paints. I'm going to try that. So I've switched now to my dagger brush. And I've got a little bit darker pigment in here. So I would have like little centers to some of these little flowers. So maybe by just adding just a few little dots here, we can give the illusion of the centers of some of those flowers. And I think I want to say they might even be yellow, actually, in the flower that I have. But again, I'm not even looking. Challenge yourself, challenge your memory. See how close you can actually get it to what something actually looks like. It's amazing how sometimes when we don't look at things, how we interpret things, right? You just never know what you can come up with, too. Might even be prettier than the real thing, although it's harder to get better than Mother Nature. So I'm not looking for, 4 leaves here, per se. I'm just, seeing those little shapes and dotting where I think they might be. And most of the time they're kind of blooming out towards you. So a couple up here, maybe one here. Again, just filling them in. And I can even switch to maybe a little bit of yellow in here. Add a little yellow to the blue, kind of a greeny tint to it. Popping some of that in here. Even if it's not the center of the flower, maybe it could be in behind the flower a little bit. So again, not thinking too much, just going in with a little bit of color and having fun, just, randomly dotting things around. And then I think we'll do a little bit more details in a couple of these little leaves that we've got going on here. And a little bit of sap green and a little bit of blue. Kind of give us a little bit more dimension in here. And with the dagger brush, it's got a nice point to it. Not covering up all of that leaf, but again, I'm being, somewhat messy with it. I'm not being super strict with the shapes of these. And just getting a little bit more color in there without looking. I don't have to cover all of it. Keeping the light in some of the areas. And this one I think I need to go a little bit heavier on. Kind of filled that one in too much. Without going over it too much, without too much fixing. That's what I tend to do. I don't want to overwork it, right? Let's get a little bit of this in here too. I know that there's going to be some green underneath. And maybe a little bit of yellow splatter. When all else fails, I always splatter. I'm not doing a background for this one either, so. Okay, I'm just going to leave that. We'll dry it and then maybe do a little pen and ink after I clean up my mess. Okay, so I have a choice of a Posca pen, or I could use my bleed proof white. Let's just see how. I haven't used the Posca pens for a while. I just got this one going here. So I'm just going to slightly, maybe I will have to switch over. I just want to give an illusion of some of those little leaves in here, or the petals, petal shape. So I'm just going to go around some of these. I have to keep dipping my Posca pen into the ink over here because it seems to have dried up a little bit. So there's that cough of mine. Try to take that out so you don't have to hear it. I don't know if I said earlier, but I had strep throat. First time in my life I've had strep throat. I didn't believe it, but my son came home and said his girlfriend's mom had strep, and they were visiting there, and it had been like 2-3 weeks, and my son was sick, my husband was sick, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna get away with it. I'm not gonna get it. And then, nope. So, of course, they don't go to the doctors, right? I did. And I was tested, and sure enough, I had strep throat. So I'm like, I can't believe it. It's the first time in my life. So not a fun experience, I will say. It put me out on my bottom. So I'm just going to dot in the center again, some of these little areas. This is, somewhat abstract. It's super fun to do with warm-ups. It's just a great way to be loose rather than constantly having to worry about what every little single detail looks like. It's just messy, loose, exciting, free, where you don't have to think about every little stroke that you make. And really, this is my favorite way to create. I think for me, a lot of my paintings come out much better when I am loose and just more expressive, not as tight and worrying about every little stroke mark that I make. I think if you are a person that does a lot of mixed media type things, I think it will come more natural for you, because I think it's more freeing when you feel like, oh, I'm just doing abstract stuff and it doesn't have to look like anything. I just like the colors, and it's just a little bit more freeing. And if you kind of take that mindset to watercolors, you can do something similar to that and have a little bit more freedom than you think you do. It doesn't have to be something that is super perfect or exact. You could kind of layer in here. I didn't like that green, so let's just pretend there's another little flower in there. And you can see I keep pumping my marker, my Posca pen, and I have my little tray over here, so I'm just pumping it up and down. I get a nice little puddle. I just kind of dip it. This is a little bit wider than what I would normally work with for something so small, but because I'm just being very loose and having a little bit more freedom with it, this is working. Okay. So what do we think of that? That's kind of fun. I don't know how much time that we've used. You could even go back in with a little bit of black if you wanted to, but I think I'll keep it nice and light because my flowers were light. And ironically, I think I'm going to go back now and I'm going to look at the actual flower and see what it actually looks like. So let's just throw a mat on there. That's pretty. And I've got some lights and some darks. I've got the little bit of white pen in there. I could definitely do a little bit more darker values for details, maybe some darker blues and outlining in there if I wanted to add a little bit more to it. But a great start, you could always try this again a couple of times and just kind of play with it. That is how we learn. That's how we grow as an artist. Again, nothing has to be perfect. And expressing yourself is one of the biggest joys that you can get from your watercolors. So I advise you to explore a little today. So thank you so much for hanging with me, watching me paint. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to see yours. Make sure you tag me on Instagram or Facebook if you go ahead and do this one. I'm actually adding this to my Fire America. I'm making some prints of it. I thought it was so pretty, and I ended up going with a square. I asked this question in my group. So make sure to hit that like and share button, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.